I just think it's so amazing that sometimes I'm the one diagnosing the patient with these internal conditions because of something I'm seeing on their skin. So our skin is so much more than just a pretty face. Now, when you have a skin condition, everyone can see it if it's on a part of the body that's visible. So it can really affect with our confidence. My goal as a dermatologist is make your skin look so pretty. You don't need to wear makeup, right? Like makeup can just be some mascara if you want and some like a lip stain or whatever. Now, we're not trying to go back to a time long ago that's unrealistic, and allow yourself to age and not put so much emphasis on how you look, to actually focus more on like who you are as a person, because I do feel like that confidence, that really does shine through.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Wellness Podcast. I'm Niki Wolf, your host for today, and today we are going to be exploring a conversation that we really haven't dove deep into, and we have a special guest. Dr. Alice Mina is a Harvard-trained dermatologist, international speaker, author, and host of the popular podcast, The Skin Reel. With nearly 2 decades of clinical experience, she is recognized for her artistic eye and surgical skills. She is on a mission to reframe aging, aesthetics, skincare, and skin health to help people feel radiant in their skin at all stages of life. Thank you so much for being here, Mary.
Well, thank you so much, Niki, for having me. I'm really thrilled to be here.
Absolutely. I think this is such an important conversation, and I love that you press into all stages of life, because the way that we approach our health through puberty and middle-aged and menopause, all these different seasons, does take a different approach. And I just excited to explore what that looks like as far as skin health. I'd love to hear what got you to this place. Maybe it was your own personal health journey with skin health or family-related things, but what led you here?
Yeah, well, it's been a crazy ride getting to where I am. I was really into the arts when I was younger. I was actually a dancer, and medicine was not even on my radar until I had an injury and I was in my early 20s and realized I wasn't good enough to really be like a prima ballerina, and I needed to do something else with my life. And I always loved science. I loved seeing how things worked. I was intrigued with the body from being a dancer and also drawing and painting. And I just felt like dermatology would be the perfect blend of my artistic background and my interest in science and medicine. And so really almost as soon as I decided to be a doctor, I was like, I'm also going to be a dermatologist. And one of the things I love about dermatology too is that you can look at something and tell what's going on. And people don't realize this. I think we get stuck on skin health, and we think of it as just like skincare or beauty care, and we focus on our face, and that's about it. And our skin is actually, it does so many amazing things. But one of the things I love about it is that I can look at people's skin and have a clue as to what's going on internally, because it actually is reflected in our skin, which I just think is so amazing that sometimes I'm the one diagnosing the patient with these internal conditions because of something I'm seeing on their skin. So our skin is so much more than just a pretty face. Now, that's certainly a component of it, and that tends to be what our society values and thinks of with skin. But I want people to know that our skin is so much more, and partially because as I'm getting older, I'm now in my mid-40s. So I'm thinking about these things. I'm seeing changes. I'm seeing differences. And I feel like there's this whole movement, especially with women in middle age, perimenopause, menopause, and beyond, we've never lived this long before in our life. We've never experienced menopause for so long in our lives before. And people are saying, wait a minute, we need to look into this. We need to study it. We're not just going to be like put out to pasture because we turn 50 or 60 or whatever age that is. And so as someone who is approaching that very, very quickly, I really have just become passionate about skin health and understanding or letting people know that skin health is more than just beauty and skincare.
I love that you really honed in on that, and you clarifying that it's more than just those two aspects. It's a really good indication, like you said, of what could potentially be going on in the body. And maybe today we'll be able to explore, eczema, psoriasis, acne, all these things of what could that be signaling of what's going on internally? And I mean, a lot of the work that I do is root cause, is integrative approaches. And so you really have to look at the body as a whole. And it sounds like that's exactly what you're doing. Now, when we're talking about different, seasons of life, I think we grow into this confidence of who we are. What would you say is the link between skin health and self confidence? And how do your patients, or how do you help patients feel good in their own skin?
Yeah, well, it's easier said than done, right? But we all know that our appearance matters, right? I'm not saying, oh, you just feel good. And for some people, they can do that, and that's amazing. But for most of us, right, our appearance matters. How we dress, how we speak, how we present ourselves, that does matter. And so when someone has a condition like very severe eczema or acne or psoriasis, that impacts, it's more than just, oh, it's not going to kill you, you'll be fine. In fact, they've done studies showing people where they digitally enhance them with acne, either mild or severe acne, and they use men and women, and then they use people of different skin complexions, and they showed it to random strangers and asked them to rate whether they were trustworthy, whether they were smart, whether they would want to be friends with them or take a selfie with them. And almost across the board, if they had severe acne, they were deemed less intelligent, unclean. They did not want to be friends with them or associate with them. And it was actually even more significant for people who had darker skin. So this is more than just a condition like kids get, and we don't need to worry about it. And, this really does affect people, psychologically and psychosocially. So I think sometimes people think, well, skin condition, acne, it's not going to kill you, right? But actually it can really affect someone's confidence. And I struggled with acne when I was younger. And I remember how I would just want to disappear. I didn't want people to look at me. I would cake makeup on thinking it would hide it. And I was just so embarrassed, and it really did affect my confidence. So I feel for my patients who are struggling with a skin condition, because unlike having hypertension, which you don't necessarily see, or having kidney problems, right? When you have a skin condition, everyone can see it if it's on a part of the body that's visible. So it can really affect with our confidence, and that affects our jobs, our relationships, our marriages, all of that stuff is related. So I think we, especially in medicine and as the public, we really need to see our bodies as more than just this organ, and think of it, everything comes together. It all works in unison. Our physical body, our emotional well-being, mental health, all of that. So I'm excited that there does seem to be this push with people wanting to know more about that and make it less sort of piecemeal. So yeah, the skin, it plays a huge role in how we feel about ourselves. And also just, to talk about social media, the world nowadays is very small, right? It used to be you just compared yourself to your religious group or your neighbors, or the people you work with. But now we have the whole world to compare ourselves to. And we've got all these these filtered pictures out there that make us think that's reality, and it's not. So it's also warping our sense of what's normal when we see these highly edited filtered pictures. So it can also affect our confidence that way as well.
Absolutely. I think, there's difficulties and challenges in every era that we've gone through with, different developments. But I do think that this is one thing that a lot of adolescents are really struggling with, is this attention to social media, this filtering, and then this realistic comparing of, I don't look like that. And gosh, what a critical and influential age when you think of puberty and going through acne and so many hormonal fluctuations. And then on top of that, diet, I would say most adolescents are probably not eating the cleanest, diet. They might be filled with processed foods. And so that's going to contribute to some of our skin health and other conditions. But I very much see how the link between skin health and even mental health are drastically correlated and how impactful that can be. I mean, and I'm not even trying to take away from others who have experienced bigger things, but just a few years ago, I was struggling with shingles, and my scalp was just peeling off. And this was in a time where I was in sales, where I had to go to stores on a daily basis, interact with people all day long. And I remember when I was going through flare-ups, I had to stay home. And I luckily had the freedom and ability to do that, but many people don't. I was so just defeated and didn't want to be in the face of individuals. And so I can see when there were the times that I had to go out in public, I'd wear a hat, or I just wouldn't give eye contact to people, and how for people who struggle with this of any aspect on a continual basis, how that can start affecting you mentally and socially. And so it's so important and such a good, area to get into and to help people through this. Because like you said, it's not just the aesthetic, it's let's get to the root cause. And to your point, I think this is, functional health, naturopathic medicine, getting to the root cause, I think is becoming much more understood, aware. I mean, I've been in the hospital since I was little, and I started working with naturopaths years ago. And so I very much understand that your brain is connected to your toe, is connected to all these different areas. And we can't just look at one organ in isolation. They all, contribute to the health and well-being of others. Now, you mentioned skin health. This is a variety of aspects, but if we just talk about ways that we can approach maybe cleansing, and I think you take a more of a minimalistic approach to it. I'd love to hear of what your approach looks like and why you recommend doing something like that.
Yeah. So my skincare is really simple, and I find people are way overdoing it. Now, most dermatologists I know, they all say the same thing. We keep it really simple. In fact, I don't know a single dermatologist who has an elaborate skincare routine. But the problem is we're being marketed to all the time by these companies. They need to sell products, and, you always got to make it more enticing than the next one. And we've got these beautiful celebrities pitching products and all that too. So it's so overwhelming. I mean, I get overwhelmed going to the drugstore or beauty counters or whatever. It's a lot. But my whole thing is, the KISS principle, keep it simple. And that you really need to know your skin. You need to invest in quality products, and you need to be consistent and just not get off track. But for cleansing, I mean, this is so important to do, especially at the end of the day. If you work during the day and go to bed at night, obviously, if you have a job where you're up at night, you just reverse it, right? But I mean, I've been using the Dove Beauty Bar for decades, and I like it because it's gentle and it's affordable, and I use it on my whole body. And I just don't want to spend 30 minutes doing a skincare routine. Now, there are maybe people listening who, for them, that is relaxing. That is meditative. Maybe they put on music and they really, really enjoy that. And if that is you, then that is fine if you want to have a little more luxury with yours. But for me, it's usually I'm showering. I want to get to bed. It's at the end of the day. And so I don't do anything fancier than that. But there are also other great products out there. If you have dry skin, you want to look for maybe something that's a little creamier, a little more hydrating. Sometimes, oils can be nice. If you have oily skin, you want to look for something that is more gel-based, that's not as creamy. So you have to, again, know what skin type you are and what you need. But I find people are using these beautiful products and they smell amazing. But the problem is they've got lots of botanicals in them and things that can sensitize your skin. And while they sound amazing, it's natural, right? Like flowers. Who doesn't love flowers? But it's not really what we need to be putting on our skin day in and day out. So I keep it very simple. I don't think you need to spend a lot of money on your skincare, but you just need to have quality products. So I mean, that's what I do. Sometimes if I want to get fancy or I have a lot of makeup on, I will use an oil cleanser first because that really does help get the makeup off. But it does not need to be complicated. You don't need special tools. Just your fingers work just fine. So yeah, what do you do, Niki?
Well, I know my approach. Well, I would say I keep things very simple. And I also think to add on, like whether you want a simplified version or fancy version, lots of ingredients or just like bare bones. I don't know. I feel like, what does your skin look like when you're using this consistently? Obviously, there could be life circumstances, stressors, things that maybe that ingredient isn't contributing to. Maybe there's just a crazy amount of stress and that's what's leading to things. But if you're consistently using something and your skin looks great, I don't know. In my opinion, I'm going to run with that and I'm going to do that for as long as I can. I tend to have extremely dry skin. I use the cleanser that I have right now, I think is like La Roche Posay,
Mm-hmm.
and it's I can't remember what type of cleanser. I use that. If I do have makeup, and to be honest, I don't wear makeup most days, and I don't like. I'm putting makeup on for today, but pretty much after this, I'll take it off. I just don't like the feeling of makeup. Even though I use like tinted moisturizers and stuff, I don't know. I like. All I do is I take coconut oil and I slather it and get all the makeup off. I take a warm cloth and wipe, all the makeup off. And then I'll follow up with a cleanser. And then as far as what I do after I dry my face, I do a sunscreen moisturizer. I'll add argan oil on top of that to kind of seal it in. And then I'll do another layer, which could be controversial, but it works for me. I'll do like a thicker, like right now I'm using tallow, or just like a thicker cream, something. And again, it works well for me. It works well for my skin. I'm 18 weeks pregnant. And so skin can kind of freak out at those different times. But I've done this during, before, after pregnancy, and it just works well with my skin. So I continue that. If I started breaking out and something was going wrong, or when I move, if the weather's obviously going to be different, I might approach it a little bit different, but that's just what's worked well for me. And so, but I like what you said. If some people really just enjoy the therapeutic component of doing these multi-step components, that's not for me either.
Yeah.
I have a container of all these like little spa treatments. I just haven't gotten to it, but that's a fun like girls' night thing to do, or just go to like a spa day and do something like that. But yeah, that's kind of my thing. And I think I just don't wear makeup very often. And so I wonder if that's a contributing factor to my skin. Obviously hydration and, eating minimally processed food.
Yeah, well, and I love what you said, just know your skin, right? And I can reiterate that, like, your skin needs more moisture. My skin is very oily. I would die if I would be so slick. If I put all that on, all the oil on for me. So that is not what I need. And also, I like what you say, like, stay the course, be consistent. My skin is not very sensitive, so I can handle more fragrances than other people, but I choose just to avoid them just in case, because every now and then I will get a flare up. But like if your skin can handle certain things and you like how your skin's looking, then great, stay with it. But I would just tell people, if you're doing a complicated routine, you're spending a lot of money on it, you're not happy with the results, then you gotta maybe take a step back and figure something else out. And my goal as a dermatologist is like, make your skin look so pretty. You don't need to wear makeup, right? Like makeup can just be some mascara if you want, and some like a lip stain or whatever. So like, my goal is for you to have skin that's so pretty, you don't even need makeup. So yeah.
I love that so much. And it is absolutely possible. Even if you came from like, I used to have really red skin, hyperpigmentation, and just to think of like even in high school, I was never like a foundation person. I always have worn very minimal amount of makeup, but I remember being able to go to work out in the field in sales and be able to just get by with just tinted moisturizer, because it would, my skin wasn't as inflamed as it once was. Again, coming back to, let's get to the root of what's going on. Speaking of that, I kind of want to slightly transition. I know we didn't really chat much about this kind of previously, but I'm curious. Obviously, you're not going to be doing any diagnosis. We don't have any one-on-ones that we can talk with, but I'd love to hear from your experience in the field. If somebody comes to you with acne or rosacea or some of these major skin concerns, have you seen a correlation from some other internal health concerns that you've kind of seen that link? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So we definitely know with acne that eating a high glycemic food index, like processed sugars, lots of refined sugars, eating that will can flare people's acne for sure. And then less established, but really like people anecdotally say this all the time, and I saw it in my husband, is having whey protein can flare acne for some people, and milk, especially skim milk, which is interesting. So we certainly know that eating certain foods can flare acne. Now, I remember when I was a teenager, it was like, pepperoni and pizza and greasy pizza will flare your acne, but it's really more the sugar, the high glycemic index foods that can trigger acne. And we know that that causes inflammation in the body. And so many people today have metabolic syndrome and obesity and all diabetes and all these like chronic inflammatory conditions. And eating all that processed foods is one component of it. So that certainly can flare it. We also know, like people who have rosacea, that these little mites called Demodex that live on our skin, there tends to be an overgrowth of that can flare it. It used to be thought that it was from a lot of drinking, and people would be stigmatized that if they had really bad rosacea, people thought they were alcoholics. And that's been kind of debunked nowadays. But certainly, being stressed out, having elevated cortisol in your body, we know all these things affect multiple organs, including your skin. So again, that's why really, especially as we're living longer, right? Like medicine used to be just fix these isolated problems. And also we didn't know as much. And now we have information overload. Just what we've learned and what we can study now has just exploded. It's just almost like limitless. And what we can do. But now our model of healthcare and how we treat diseases doesn't really work. We really need to, if we want to be healthy as a nation, as people, if we want to live into our older ages and be strong, and we really have to focus on whole body care, and that's with skincare as well.
I absolutely agree. I think it's so important. And, my main principles of holistic support, diet, lifestyle, supplementation. Obviously, we can utilize some other avenues if we need or for emergency situations, but so much can be influenced and changed with those three alone. And you'll notice you might be trying to support skin health, but you'll notice memory health or cognitive health improve, sexual health improve. All these different facets are interlinked. Now, when we talk about different stages of life, obviously puberty, you might experience, more acne, again, to your cortisol, which actually I want to pivot one sec, because a trend that was going on for a while, and I'm curious if you've heard about it, is I think they called it cortisol face. Now, it was more of this, elevated levels of cortisol. And if you work to improve and drop your cortisol, people started losing weight in their face. Have you ever had any clients come in and discuss that?
So usually when we see cortisol face, it's usually because someone is on systemic steroids. So they are having to be on steroids because of some sort of condition where their immune system is overreacting, and we need to calm it down. And so back in the day, even 50 years ago, we really didn't have anything better than steroids. And nowadays we have steroid sparing agents and things like that. But for sure, when people are on chronic steroids, they have a lot of side effects, and they have trouble sleeping. They get what we call moon faces, is what we would refer to it in medicine, where the face is puffy. They can get a hump on the back of their neck. So yeah, we know for a fact, but it's typically from being on high dose or chronic steroids, systemic steroids.
Okay, good to know. Thanks for clarifying that. Now, kind of coming back to the seasons of life and these different stages that we experience in our lives, with the aging process, how do you encourage patients to embrace these different stages? Because there's a lot of different things that arise, and how do we sit into that comfortably?
Well, I think the first is just education and understanding, knowing that, okay, what am I feeling right now? What is my body going through? And to know, hey, if you're in your mid 40s or 50s or whatever, you might be experiencing perimenopause. And these are the symptoms that can happen with perimenopause. It's not just hot flashes. If you look in the mirror and feel like your face is just fallen all of a sudden, that's probably because of the drastic collagen loss that happens during this period. So I think just having the knowledge to know, okay, this is what my body is going through. Same thing if you're pregnant, right? Like we read all these books, we want to learn what's going on with our body and our baby. So that we're not so terrified when these things happen, that we have an understanding of it, that it's natural, it's normal. You're not going crazy, that these things happen. And then you can talk with your doctor about what are some ways to mitigate the side effects that are not desirable. Because let's be honest, like not every part about aging, we say aging's a gift and we should be grateful for aging, and absolutely, but not every part about aging is fun or enjoyable. Just like not every part of being pregnant is fun or enjoyable. Not every part about being young is fun and enjoyable, right? So just understanding what your body is going through. You're not alone. Having a support system or a community of people that you can talk with. And this is where I think it's important to really understand your value is more than just what you look like in the mirror, and to stop comparing yourself to where you were at 25. I find, especially for women, I'm a woman, so I can speak to this, is that we're not really allowed to age. Like my husband's allowed to age. He can get distinguished and get gray hair, but I'm supposed to look the exact same way, fit in the same clothes that I wore when I was in college or medical school. So I think part of it is just reframing what it means to get older. And what is sad to me is when I have patients come in and they have such a hard time not looking like they did 10, 15, 20 years ago. And they really want me to bring them back to that time. And I'm like, I can, and really no one can. And also that won't look normal, right? Like I want people to look the best they can where they are right now. And, there's so many things we can do, but I think the people who get the best results have this sort of healthy attitude that not every wrinkle needs to be stamped out. Their skin doesn't have to be as tight as it was when they're 25, and just sort of have realistic expectations to look the best you are right now, but that we're not trying to go back to a time long ago that's unrealistic, and allow yourself to age and not put so much emphasis on how you look, to actually focus more on like who you are as a person, because I do feel like that confidence, that really does shine through. And, try to keep, I think a beautiful complexion really is such a game changer. Like you can have, I see these very lovely, elegant ladies who are in their 80s and 90s. They have wrinkles, they don't have the tightest skin, but they're beautiful because they have taken care of their bodies. Their skin is glowing, and they're still older ladies, but they can still be beautiful. So I think we've got a lot of work to do, but just allowing, especially women, that we can look different, and to focus really on vitality and strength, taking care of our whole body, because that is going to be reflected in our skin. And then you can do the cosmetic or aesthetic procedures if you like, but let that be sort of like the final 5 to 10% of what you do, not 80%.
Absolutely. I think pressing into that aging gracefully. And I remember, I'm still pretty young, but I remember being so excited to get into my 30s because I'm like, I feel like I'll just be more confident in my skin. And I had, eating disorders and all sorts of stuff. And so clearly I was never confident in what I looked like, what I presented. And I had some medical things too that made it difficult to like feel confident with who I am. And as I get married and become a mom, like your worth, and it truly is like your value is so much deeper than what you look like. And obviously you want to feel confident with what you look like, because that will showcase, kind of coming back to our conversation we had earlier, but it's the importance of who you surround yourself with, the things that you do, how you feel, your confidence, your kindness. That is probably what I think exudes from these 80-year-old ladies as well. As it's like the love that they show. You can see when somebody is just beaming with glow. And like you said, they have wrinkles, they have freckles, they have these imperfections, but to be able to sit into this like aging gracefully, there's even celebrities, and I don't read much into celebrities, but I think Pamela Anderson kind of stopped a few years ago, stopped doing procedures and stopped putting makeup on. And she's just embracing her skin naturally in the way she looks. And it is absolutely beautiful. So to your point, it's not that we're saying there's nothing wrong with doing XYZ, but let's start with this foundational component. What can we do that works naturally with our bodies to show off the beauty that we have and accept some of those things that come naturally with age, because that shows experience. I remember hearing somebody saying the smile lines, and the smile lines and I don't even know what these are called.
Yeah, the
Like
crow's feet. Uh-huh.
yes, it shows that you smile and you laugh and you're full of energy and joy. And so I kind of, reframe some of these things. And maybe when I get a little bit more wrinkles, I might, who knows, what that look like. But I think sitting into this is what we were intended to do and go through and be, and to love each season of life. So I love that so much. Where could people find more information about you, the work that you do, whether it's online or even at a clinic that you're at? If people want to know more, and what does those services look like?
Yeah, well, Niki, this has been a lot of fun. So I practice mostly procedural dermatology in Atlanta, Georgia. And so I see a lot of skin cancer, and I have a lot of older patients, and they're always telling me, I wish I had known. I wish I had known. So anyone listening, if you're thinking, what is the one thing I can do for my skin, besides taking care of your body, sleep, diet, exercise, all that, I would say sun protections. It's the people I see who are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, who have sun protected, their skin looks amazing, phenomenal. So if that's the only thing you do or take away, just sun protection, like forget all the complicated skincare products and all that. Just if you can protect your skin from the sun, it will take care of so much of the aging that happens. But so I do a lot of skin cancer surgery. So hopefully you won't have to see me for that. But also remove cysts, lipomas, and I do cosmetic procedures. And I love certain cosmetic procedures. I do them myself, but there's a way you can do them where you do maybe little things here and there along the way. And again, just having, it's all like perspective and mindset too, that you want to look the best you are right now, but we're not trying to stamp out every sign that we're growing, that we're living. So yes, like you said, so I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, Baucom Mina Derm Surgery. And then I have a podcast called The Skin Reel, where I just want to give people good skin health information so that they can make good choices about their skin and their skincare and their skin health. And you can find that wherever you like to consume your podcast. And I just laugh because nowadays I do have to spell out real for people. So it's REAL. And my social media handle is at Dr. Mina Skin. So you can find me there. And then if someone's listening, they're like, I really have no idea what I need to do for my skin and all that. I can send you a free PDF at if you go to theskinreel.com/habits, and it just kind of breaks down how I recommend people figure out what skincare habits they should be doing, because it's going to be different for everyone.
Absolutely fantastic. Is there any pieces in regards to skin health that maybe we didn't touch upon that you feel like listeners should walk away knowing this information?
Ooh, well, I think I shared it with the sun protection, right? If I could impart one piece of knowledge, and I would say prevention, like focus on prevention, really, like with so many things, but same with our skin health, like focus on prevention now. It will save you so much down the road. So start taking care of your body, start sleeping well, start managing your stress, your mental health, your mindset. All of those things are going to be reflected in your skin. And then you can come see me for some maintenance or just, little things along the way. But yeah, I mean, prevention's key, and it's never too late to start, right? Just like planting a tree, the best time to do it was 20 years ago, but the next best time is right now.
Oh, I like that. I feel like that's with investing too. It's like, should have done it forever ago, but you got to start, sometime.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate exploring this conversation, and hopefully we're able to provide some practical information for listeners to feel confident and beautiful in their skin.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Take care.